Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. Mishnah Yomi continues for the 25th of Av. Yesterday we started the 5th parak in Maasrot, and now we are on the 3rd Mishnah in the 5th parak. Lo yimkor Adam et perotav mishapal le'onat hamaasrot lemishaenu ne'aman al hamaasrot. A person may not sell his produce once they've reached the stage of processing where they're chayev and meiser to a person who we are not sure, we don't believe that he separates all the required Maasrot. This may sound familiar if you've learned Demai, because in Demai we talked all about the haaretz who are not always so reliable on separating tithes. They did a survey back then, and most of them got most of the tithes most of the time. No, really, most of them took meiser, but some of them did not. So the haaretz were not always so reliable. They would take truma gedola, but meiser maybe not. So once you've reached that stage, if you sell the produce as it is as tevel to an haaretz who's suspected of not taking meiser, it's a lifnei iver lo titen michshol. That's nevera. And the Mishnah adds likewise, velo b'shvit, the mishu chashud ala shvit. You cannot sell your shmita produce, even though it's pater from meiser because it's hefker. But we discussed in Masechet Shvit, there are certain times it's permissible to sell produce of shvit. For example, he gathered it for himself and he had leftovers, but he was not gathering it for commercial purposes originally. So see Shvit and Demai for further info. Mishnah continues, Im Bikru, if some of his crop was Bechor, Bechor is firstborn, here some of it ripened early, Notel et Bekurot, Mocher et Shar. He could take for himself the early ripened ones, the ones that are already done, they're already at the stage where they are fully ready to go, and he's chayav and meiser, and he can sell the ones that are not ripe yet. The rest of his crop, it's not yet chayev in meiser or shmita, so there's no problem selling it to an haaretz. Mishnah Dalet, somewhat similar, lo yimkor adam et tivno, vet gifto, vet zogov, lemishaenu neman ala Maasrot, hotzim hem mashkin. A person cannot sell his straw. The Farshim say here the straw has some wheat kernels, some grain kernels are still in the straw. So they threshed it, but they didn't separate every last drop of grain from it. That gifto is the famous gefet, which is the remainder when you press your olives to extract the olive oil. So it's sort of the squished pulp of the olives. Vet zagav, the grape skins, which is what's left after you press your grapes to get the wine. Misha eno neman al meiser, to someone who's not trusted to separate meiser. L'chotzim hen moshke means the buyer who's buying these items sort of to recycle them wants to further press them, and he's not going to get extra virgin olive oil, so he's going to get sort of the schmutzy, third or fourth press olive oil, but it still has value. So you see there's a value to recycling the pulp and the skins of the grapes because you can get a little more out of it if you're willing. We see from here too, if you're willing to put in more work, you get more out of the same produce. The same holds for Lima Torah as well. But here we don't want this man, the subject of the Mishnah, to sell these items to an haaretz, someone who's not necessarily going to take meiser, because these items, the residual wine and oil that's in these leftover items, it is chayev and meiser. It is lemaisa, it's wine or oil, not the highest quality, but it still is chayev and meiser. And if the buyer extracted the liquid from these leftover pulp and squished up olives and grape skins, chayev and meiser pater min truma. He's chayev and meiser, but he is pater truma. The Mishnah explains shetorem, when the farmer originally took truma gedola, belibo ala ketuin v'aletzodim, he has in his heart, meaning in mind, his intention is on the kituim, even the stalks that aren't fully threshed and there's still wheat attached to them, aletzodin, even the grains on the side of the pile, and what gets mixed in with the straw. So when he took the truma gedola, Rabbi Sai, he had in mind everything, even the pulp, even the little leftovers, even whatever's in there. And the difference here is truma is taken by estimation, so it's 2%, give or take, but it's taken it's taken by estimation, not by exact weight and measure. So we can have intention, all of the grains, even the ones that get stuck to the chaff, even the ones that get stuck to the straw. So the truma is taken care of. But if he goes ahead and sells the straw, with a little wheat left over, the meiser still needs to be taken care of because that's done by weight and measure. Shkoyach Rabosai.